Hi, welcome. This is going to be a video that talks about the two-note cards. Now, because we're talking about music, and music is full of all sorts of complexity and nuance, this is probably one of a few videos that are going to be based on the two-note cards. So, let me decide, what's this one going to be about with these two-note cards? Okay. Let's talk about two ways to play two notes. First off, perhaps you've already heard of the term major and the term minor. Well, major and minor in music is often associated with happy and sad. I want to get away from that way of using the terms major and minor because I want to use them in their more non-musical sense. For instance, major usually means something that's bigger, and minor usually means something that's smaller. Now, you could take an interval and be like, oh, this is an interval between two notes, and this is another interval between two notes. One of those intervals is obviously bigger than the other interval, but they don't necessarily fall into the same category. Alright, so on the buddy cam, I'm going to point here and I'm going to say that this looks like a weird blob. What is this, some kind of atomic structure of like harmonics and the ether and space is pushing matter into existence? No, this is actually just a series of dots that can represent the sounds of music. One idea that I like to come back to is that the true name of any note that you ever hear in your life is that one, and this next one is that one, and the next one is that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. You put them all together, you get a scale, and I'm going to call it that scale. That scale right there. Now, let's talk about names. Names and notes could be like, I could call this my one. One, and this would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 again. Yeah, because we get back to the same spot. It's a 1. It's the same note, maybe a little bit higher in sound, but the idea is that you have a repeating patterns of sounds. If you did not know that already, consider yourself informed as of this moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It's the same repeating cycle of notes that somehow go up through different notes and yet also cycle through the same 7 notes over and over and over again. Yes, a paradox. Now, you might also notice that certain notes on this circular arrangement, it's not making an actual circle because these are straight lines. It looks like some kind of a, what is that, like a heptagon? Septagon? Something, I forget which prefix. Is it septagon or is it heptagon? Probably heptagon if we're talking about Greek. But anyway, it's all Greek to me. You might notice, hey, this over here looks like it is a larger step than, say, this over here. And it is. So we can take the terms major and minor and approach them, or use them to approach different intervals that are in the same category. For instance, these are in the scale and next to each other. You can see that, right? These are in the scale and next to each other. These are in the scale and next to each other. These are in the scale and next to each other, but you can see that they're much closer to each other than, say, these were. These are like the other distance, the larger distance. These are the larger distance. These are the larger distance. And these are, again, the closer distance. Maybe you've heard of whole steps and half steps. That would be an example of a major and a minor interval. Now, because in music we want to be able to kind of hear chord qualities and say like, oh, that's a happy chord versus a sad chord, I don't really like to use major and minor that often to talk about specific intervals unless I'm talking about the third for, I would say, a good reason. But let's see what happens. For instance, you might notice that this over here is my first two-note orange card. it's got two notes that are right next to each other. And you might notice that these two notes that are right next to each other, or these two notes that are right next to each other, or these two notes that are right next to each other, or these two, and so on, and so on, and so on, are all connected by an orange band, an orange path, as we can also call it. So, what would that sound like? That's your default starting point of, I am in a music lesson, I must now be learning music. I hope that's true for all involved parties, including myself. Although this is, I made this deck of cards, so at least I'm starting with some kind of pre-existing knowledge. Then we have an orange card over here, and we're like, wow, this looks like it is a huge tower of mostly empty apartments. We'll call them empty apartments. Sorry. I don't want to get into the terrible housing situation that already exists, but yeah. Here's the first floor. We'll call that do, and I'll go re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. So we have these two notes that are farther apart. Obviously, I'm skipping from my first note to my seventh note in a scale, and it sounds different. But it's also the same color as orange because I can go from this note to, say, this note by taking a step this way or going around all of this way and skipping over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that my math just checked out. Skipping over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes in the process, going from here to there. Just like this. Starts on one note and skips over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 empty spots before getting to the seventh. So that's why these are both the same color. They're both related to each other. In fact, you could even say that they're both the same thing, but one thing is turned inside out and the other is not. Which one is inside out? Doesn't matter. If one's inside out, the other one's right side out instead of inside out, outside out. Now, the interesting thing is that no matter which card I choose that has two notes to it, there's going to be two variations of how those two notes express themselves in a scale. There's always going to be two ways to play two notes. So if I'm going to take, say, this orange card, and I move it, and I'll say, I'll move that as a group through the pattern, and I'll even roll some dice. I'll roll this one and this one. Or, well, let's see. I'll roll all three of them and see which one it is. All right, I see 1 in the circle. Wait, which one is it? 2 in the triangle, which means I'm going to see 5 on the cube. Oh, yes. So if I do this pattern, I found it on this one. It's this one. Interesting. I can take that and move that through the scale. Interesting. Does that feel like it's finished to you? Does it feel like it's playing in a major scale? Does it feel like there's tension or resolution there? Something to pay attention to. There we go. Now it feels more resolved because I landed on the do. Anytime you play two notes, you're going to notice, I'll show you on the buddy cam over here. I'll start there this time. So I'm starting with my C as my top note of the group of 2. And you might notice that between C and B, there's no extra space. That is a half step. And if I keep going, that's a whole step, because between those two notes, I skipped over this black key. Same thing over here. Then I get to the next one. I did not see a black key in between those two white keys. I skipped over a black key. We're in the key of C, so I'm not going to use any of these. There we go. There's another one with a whole step. There's another whole step right there. And then finally, we get back to where we started with our first group of 2, starting on do and ending on do. Isn't it funny how starting on do and ending on do makes it feel like it's good? Or like a major scale, or it feels like a musical idea? Yeah, that's really interesting. But that's just a tangent. Now, every single one of these also has the same phenomenon. for instance, if I were to take this green card over here, the third, that would be like, I don't know if you notice over here, but every single green line connects two notes with one note that's left out between them. So this would be like this. And I go to the next one. I can go to the next one. I can go to the next one. I can go to the next one. Still go to the next one. I can still go to the next one. I'll go to the next one. That feels done. That one felt like it was done. Well, part of that was because that's where I started. I started in the same spot. So, what's interesting about this chord? Does this card have two ways to play two notes on it as well? The answer is yes, definitely. So if I take a look at this first skip, I can even count all of the keys that are in between. I can say one. Oh, wait a minute. Let's put that in the camera. Make sure the buddy cam is pointing. Let me lean forward here. There we have our green card, the third. I see 1, 2, 3. 3 chromatic steps in between. We're using the half steps, the chromatic half steps, to measure the differences between notes. And I see that there's this note, this note. I see 1, 2, 3 notes in between. If I take that, move that to the next step in the scale, I see 1, 2. Wait a minute, there's no third note in between. Now I see that I have a second option. And this second option looks like it is a shorter distance. It is a smaller span from one note to the next note because there's only 2 notes in between that I'm not using. And I'm speaking chromatically here. 2 notes chromatically. I can move on to the next step in the major scale. And I can do the same thing and say, wait a minute. There's 2 chromatic notes in between there as well. Could that be the same distance as this? How are you? Okay, no worries. And then we go to the next one. That has 2 in between it as well. But when I get to the next step in the scale, and I count the chromatic notes in between, I see that there's 3. There's 3 of them. And I could take it another step further. 3 as well. The next one has just 2. I'm going to go to the next step as well. There were 2 in between that pair of notes. And then finally, I think I'm going to bring it around again back to our home base note of where we started with do and mi. And I can see that just like before, I have the same 3 notes there. So I don't know if you noticed this, but we had either 3 notes in between, and that's what they sound like at the same time, or 2 notes at the same time in between. Ugh. Sounds, yeah, if I play the negative space, it sounds really crunchy. Let's try that. Now, the same thing happens for every single pair of notes. You have an option of either A, a larger interval, or B, a smaller interval, whether it's a third, whether it's a fourth, whether it's a fifth, whether it's a sixth, or whether it's a seventh. And then outside of these options, you're just going to be repeating the same choices of choosing a second. Maybe, ooh, that sounds a little bit out of tune. It's going to be the same choice of notes where no matter how many octaves you put in between, it's still going to be a C and a D, which is just like a do and a re to my ears. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but these are all kind of color-coded too. So if this is our third, this is our sixth. And our 6 is going to have kind of like the exact same relationship with the third as the second and the seventh have. So if I take this note and I follow this green path over here, I can go this way, or I can go this way to get to it. Or let's say if I go along this purple path to get from this note to this note, I can go this way, or I can go this way. It brings you to the same pitches, which is why if you take a look at all of these, you're going to notice that on this one, it's a black dot on the bottom and a white dot on the top, and over here it's flipped around. That's because they're actually the exact same notes. So this is the same as this one, and this is the same as this one. So if I hold it like this, you'd see this is an octave. And if I held it like this, you would see that this is an octave. Same thing for these. These two notes are the same. These two notes are the same. So this to this would be an octave. Or this to this would be an octave. And hey, just to be thorough and methodical with this, these two notes are the same, and these two notes are the same. So that way, this and this would be an octave, or this and this would be an octave. Well, that right there has been a lovely video on the 2-note cards. There's going to be another video on the 2-note cards as well. But not just yet. I have to end this one first. Bye. See you. Take care. Take care. See you later. Bye. Sorry, I'm going to not stumble on my words so much. Peace. Peace be with you. Take care.